Mia, 32 female, and I, 32 female, met in college and were best friends ever since. Mia was always very family-oriented and romantic, even when she was a kid. Her ultimate life dream is to have a big, happy family. Sadly, Mia had a very difficult childhood. She lost her entire family, younger sister and both parents, between the ages of 10 to 12. She was in the system for a while, until her abusive uncle took her in. Obviously, Mia was very mentally unwell, and just a few months ago she managed to get off her meds and stopped going to therapy. Mia and her husband Rick, 34 male, have been together for 2 years now and married for 6 months. In my opinion, it was all a bit rushed, but Mia was getting scared she wouldn't be able to have children if she waited, and to be honest, Rick seemed to be her perfect match. She was aware things were going faster than she initially wanted, but it reassured me that she and Rick are on the same page. It's her life after all, so if she's happy, so am I. Rick and I neither love nor hate each other. He's my friend's husband, so at best we tolerate one another. We don't have any common interests, and our lifestyles or life goals are different. Fast forward to New Year's Eve. Mia and Rick organized a party and invited me and my partner, 31 male, to join. Everything seemed fine. Rick and I were chatting with some friends when I decided to go outside to breathe in some fresh air since the house was very crowded. Rick followed a few minutes later. We casually talked about some irrelevant things when he suddenly says he was in love with me. I thought it was one of his stup-on-D jokes and I was totally blindsided by it, so I just laughed, joked back, and hoped he would drop it. Sadly, he doubled down and got visibly upset. Started saying how he doesn't want to spend another year unhappy and how being with Mia is exhausting because of her trauma and he deserves better than that. At this point, I got very nauseous and just wanted to get away from it all. So I told him he has no idea what he was saying and we will talk once he gets his crap together. Mia and Rick are trying for a baby, so I obviously have to tell her as soon as possible. The thing is, I have no idea how to do that. How do I approach a person to tell her the best part of her life is a lie? How do you address something like this with a person who spent the vast majority of her life on antidepressants and leaning towards self-harm? I don't even know if she'll believe me. I also don't want to lose her as a friend. But I can't watch her be all happy and giddy about him when I know he doesn't even effing respect her. There are times I think of just ignoring it all and never mentioning it, but I know that isn't right. For the opinion. Oof, OP, this is an incredibly difficult situation you're in, but you know what to do. You know you have to tell her. You said so yourself. Ignoring it and just keeping it to yourself isn't right. She deserves to know the truth about her relationship and the way her husband sees her. But as you say, how do you address something like that considering Mia's background? And I think you hit the nail on the head with, why would she believe you? This is a person that has dreamed about this for her entire life. And then here you come, telling her it's all a lie. Now this is just me assuming. But I would think that she would dismiss you absolutely, cut you off as a friend, call you a liar, rat you out, and Rick of course saying he didn't do anything, and the lie remains. So if I was in your shoes, I would find a way to get that proof and make it irrefutable. I don't know if you can record Rick the next time he says something like that, like always have your phone ready for it. And once you've got that irrefutable proof, then you can go and rip the band-aid off. I don't know if my solution is the right one. All I know is that Mia has to learn the truth and you need to make sure that she does believe you. Now for the comments. Sir Poofs a lot says, you have to tell her, and it may mean she chooses him and you lose the friendship. But I couldn't live with this secret. I'd get her one-on-one as soon as possible, and be upfront that you have bad news so she can sort of be prepared. I'd frame it as, this is so horrible. I don't want it to be true, but her husband is not a good man and she needs to know. It's up to her what she does with this information, and you'll be there for her whatever she decides, even if that's staying away for a while. Her world might totally crash down with this. Offer any and all support you feel is right, but be patient with her potentially lashing out as she reacts to this news. Trouble in Mind says, hey Mia, I need to talk to you. It's heavy and it SCKS, and it's going to be upsetting, but it's incredibly important even though I'm afraid to tell you. Then you recount the events here as best you can. Write them down ahead of time if needed. I went out to get air and Rick followed me. He told me he was in love with me. I thought he was joking, but he doubled down and insisted it was true. So I told him to get his crap together and I left him outside as quickly as I could. I knew I had to tell you quickly and struggled with how to do it. So here I am. I'm so sorry, Mia. I love you so much and never wanted this for you. I don't think you need to include his comment about her mental health, not at the opening at least. God, OP, good luck. Do it quickly before Rick gets the idea to head you off and throw you under the bus. Hisana says you need to tell her. But before you do, you need to try and record another conversation with him about this issue without him knowing, depending on how laws are where you are from on consent for recording. With him saying what he said, because even if Mia does believe you without a single piece of proof, he will almost certainly try to turn this on you and say that you were the one trying to come on to him. And OP responds, yes, I will definitely try to talk to him again about it for the proof. It's just that the entire thing is absolutely insane to me. I know love is blind, but I can't imagine anybody buying the story that I was the one who initiated the conversation. The fact that he actually did it is crazy enough. I've been with my partner longer than he even knows me, and he doesn't know me enough to be in love with me. I've never given any idea to this man that I might be interested, and neither did he. I have moments I question my own sanity, and wonder if that conversation even happened. Additional information from OP's comments. It was her psychiatrist's decision to go off the meds since she's been on them for almost 2 decades. We all know how difficult it is to stop taking them, which is why I'm reluctant to tell her even though I know that I need to. It's just a very turbulent period for her, and I have no idea how she will react. Her husband and I are as distant as we can possibly be, which is why this entire situation is odd in the first place. It's very difficult to get proof since we don't communicate a lot outside of my friendship with Mia. I was thinking of telling her and, depending on how it goes, calling him in front of her. Not sure how smart it is, but if I randomly message him, he'll most likely know it's fate. Now I know that in telling her, the best case scenario, she will not want me in her life as a reminder of this. It's just an incredibly sad situation overall. She never pushed him into marrying her. It was all his idea because he knew she was the one from the day he met her. My partner never liked him, and I think I'm starting to see why. Now she's aware that a baby isn't going to magically make her better. She's in a much better position than she was when I met her. But getting engaged after just 1 year is so fast. Whenever she would talk about babies, I couldn't help but think if she will ever be ready to raise a child. But that'd be a really awful thing to say. Friends or not, I'm not a medical doctor, and I have no place to give her advice on it or to psychoanalyze her decisions. But I can't lie if I didn't think of the possibility of her life dream being just a dream. Also, I told my partner the same night it happened. The main reason why Mia doesn't know yet is that he insisted on me getting away from the entire situation for my own mental health's sake. We will be back tomorrow when I plan on either telling Mia straight away or getting some explanation from Rick. Update. Shortly after I posted, Rick called to apologize for his behavior. He said he never meant for it to come out, but that he's very unhappy with his marriage and now he sees no escape with the baby on the way. He then said he would never be this confused about his feelings if Mia didn't have feelings for my boyfriend, which they have been trying to work on for a while now, but he's so exhausted from it all that he just wants to end it. He said he was confused about his feelings for me, but also he wanted to hurt her, so she can see what she was putting him through and how painful it is to be in love with someone who's a constant in their lives. Basically, he tried to spin this entire thing on me as trauma. I told him if he was so unhappy with his choices, he can just leave without vicious lies, and that he didn't have any reason to put me or my boyfriend in the middle of this. He just said he didn't mean for it to happen, and we ended the call on that. I went to Mia afterward and told her about Rick's confession. Obviously, she was heartbroken about this, but she seemed to accept it at the face value. I then told her what Rick said in his call since I thought she deserves to know that he was making up stuff behind her back. That's when she broke down and said she had no idea how it happened. She would never act on it anyways, and that Rick was never supposed to tell me about it, but that's something between them that they are so close to resolving. She said she saw how my partner treats me and my kid and how that's something she desperately wants, but it is just so unlucky. She called me selfish, but if we were friends as I believed we were, I would expect her to come forward with this, trauma-related or not. It isn't just between Rick and Mia. It involves other people now that were unwillingly put into this entire situation. She spent one-on-one time with my partner so many times, and she never felt bad enough to tell me, or at least to attempt to stay away from him and give me some fake reason for it. I know she needs support, but I can't do this. I simply can't and won't, and if I'm in a hole for it, so be it. I'm fine with a step-on-D crush, we're all only humans, and especially with her history, I would 100% understand and help her out if she came to me about it. Lying and the betrayal that went on for years, on the other hand, I simply cannot forgive that easily, especially after everything we've been through and the things she knows I've been through. I told her I need some space. She tried calling me after I left, but I'm too tired to talk to her at all and can't see myself doing so anytime soon. Extended from OP's comments. I did think about Mia being in love with the idea of my boyfriend, but this has been going on for 4 years now, all while Mia was still in therapy. If that was the case, she had mechanisms to resolve it and a supportive husband at her side. She never simply said, "I want what you have" in her conversation with me. The talk revolved around my boyfriend specifically. I also don't think her husband would have caused that incident for New Year's Eve if this was just her wanting the life I have. I understand that might be how it started, but it definitely isn't the case now. I don't doubt her when she says she would never do anything about it, but I don't feel comfortable knowing she had those feelings in the first place. I'm really sorry how it turned out since it all could have been avoided if she was honest from the start. Now I just don't feel comfortable around them and I hate to ditch my friends over this. I mean, Mia had these feelings before she even met her husband, let alone got married. It also doesn't change the fact that she never attempted to distance herself or communicate anything. You don't catch feelings overnight, and in several years, she never thought it might have gone too far. Wow, OP, I did not see that coming. I'm so sorry that also happened to you. This whole thing SCKS. The good thing is that your conscience is clear. You told Mia what you needed to tell her. Of course, you didn't expect the other part of it, but now you're in the clear. And I absolutely agree with your decision to just take a big step back from this relationship with Mia and reevaluate things. Lying by omission is a thing, and if Mia was going through something like you said, she was in therapy at the time, she could have worked on it. She didn't. She let the feelings grow. She did nothing about it and ruined her relationship with her husband and now with you. So OP, here's wishing that the space and the time that you need to heal comes for you. Focus on you and your relationship, and I wish you all the best in the future. Thank you for sharing OP and take care. Now let's finish this video with a mood booster post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Malicious Compliance and it's by user NewTechie1. You only pay mileage for the shortest possible trip. Okay, then you have to pay my tolls. At my job, every day I have to travel between 2 offices. I start at my main office, then have to travel to the second office, then back to the main office. Because I'm using my personal vehicle for this travel, the company pays me mileage. Well, there are basically 2 routes you can take between the 2 offices. One is about a mile round trip shorter but has tolls, so I always take the 1 mile longer route to avoid the tolls. I did it this way for a year. Well, in comes the new bookkeeper and she is hell-bent on saving the company money. And where does she think all this wasteful money is going? Expense reports, obviously. So she starts nitpicking every report. Like if someone is out and has to buy some pens for work, she goes online and finds the cheapest price possible for those pants and only reimburses for that cheaper price. It obviously has pissed several people off. Well, she eventually decided to target me. I submit my report for 2 weeks and a few days later get the reimbursement payment. Well, it's $5.85 short. I ask her about it and she says I've been ripping off the company for the past year by taking the longer route between the offices. She will only pay mileage for the shorter route from now on. And I'm lucky she doesn't go back and take back all the extra from the past year. I say, okay, but to please send me an email where she tells me that I must take the shorter route and that this is company policy, and leave her office. Before I even made it to my desk, I had an email from her confirming what she said. 2 weeks later, I submit my expense report. I reported the shorter route, so the company saved $5.85, but tolls added up to $136, a net loss for the company of $130.15. It's been 6 months, and I'm still taking the shorter route, costing the company an extra $130.15 every 2 weeks. Well, OP had it in writing, so he had no other choice. He had to follow company policy. Now, like I said, there is an update that came 7 months later after this original post. So let's finish this story and video with that. This extra cost to the company went on all last year. $130.15 every 2 weeks. By my estimates, it cost the company about an extra $3,500 last year. Now, in the 3rd week of December, we have our annual budget review with all the department heads. It's usually just a quick chit-chat about how things went over the year, then we all get a nice catered lunch. This year went a little bit differently. First, bookkeeper asked that we keep a projector set up in the conference room so she could give a presentation on how much she has saved the company since she was hired at the beginning of the year. This was great for me and I prepared my own presentation. She starts off the meeting by going over each department, going over the changes she has made to save money. Her big cherry on top of her savings was how much she has saved by cracking down on excess expense reimbursement. Now I should say here that she is not liked by any of the department heads. Most of the employees have complained to their department heads about her bull, and they've been forced to just take the complaints with no power to do anything about it. I, on the other hand, am a one-person department. So her presentation ends with a big hooray on how cutting down on expense reimbursements saved the company a whole $3,500 last year. Then we start going over each department's budget. Everything is going normally until they get to my budget. Wait, why is it so far over budget? My boss asks, and this is when my short PowerPoint presentation gets played. I bring up the first slide. It's the slightly longer route I was taking between offices. I explained this was the route I was taking and what the mileage reimbursement was. The next slide was the newer route. I explained that bookkeeper forced me to take this route because the mileage reimbursement was less, saving the company about $5.85 every 2 weeks, a little more after the mileage rate went up in July. Then I showed them the next slide, which had bookkeeper's email included, highlighting the part about this being final and there will be no further discussion on the matter. The final slide was all the toll reimbursements I was paid over the year, including the approximate total year to date. That was a result of this new shorter route. I explained that had I been able to discuss the matter with bookkeeper, I could have explained that the shorter route had these extra tolls, and I said that's the reason I'm so over budget this year. The room was silent for what seemed like forever. Then the owners of the company asked everyone but bookkeeper to step out of the room for a few minutes. When the door opened back up, bookkeeper walked out silently, went to her desk, and started packing up her things. That was the end of bookkeeper. And that's it for today's video.